Back with another Auburn video. No intro necessary. I just came from the Auburn Arkansas game, and side note, this is the first game that I left early on. Um, Left at halftime, went to lead it in the first quarter. Mainly because it wasn't even the game. The game, I'm gonna get into that in a second. But this canoodle standing behind me. First, there's this bunch of girls that came through. I just sat with some random person. I was just trying to sit and watch the game. I was in a bad mood anyway. I've been in a bad mood by Auburn football for a while, but that was compounded upon other stuff that's not worth mentioning. These three girls came behind, and while we were standing, they just stole our seats straight up. And so I couldn't sit. I stood for about 40 consecutive minutes, something like that, which is why I usually don't stand because I know the seat's gonna be taken, but they took the seat anyway. Um, One of the girls standing in the was sitting in the seat had the audacity to look at me while I looked back at the video board because I couldn't look at the game because so I was tired of staring at the game. I had to look back at the video board to see the plays, and apparently looking at the video board isn't okay because this woman literally glared at me the entire time to look at the video board. Usually I can look at it sitting down because that wouldn't intrude on anybody and make anybody think that I'm looking at them. But hey, I couldn't sit down. And then the latter part, this Herb, uh, rejected frat weirdo, legit just yelled the whole game. And I guess you're trying to get pumped up, trying to pump everybody around him up. Nobody was pumped up in the whole stadium. If this was a movie, the movie would be um, Truth or Dare from 2017. It'd be a complete failure in every aspect in terms of getting people interested in the end result. The stadium was dead, and anyone who tries to get pumped up in a dead stadium is usually the person that needs to get exited out the stadium immediately. So I had this guy screaming in my ear while we were like throwing picks. We didn't throw any picks, but doing absolutely nothing once we did get a pick, or once we did get a turnover, or once we did get a positive play. And you just don't want to be. I mean, nobody wants to be hyped up when it's like I'm trying to keep it G rated, a terrible performance. No one wants to be hyped up. Talking about the actual football that was being played, this team isn't going to go to the playoffs. I don't know if I had to be the one to tell you that, but this team, at least its offense, certainly isn't going to the playoffs. Same song and dance that the Washington and LSU game contained. It's like if you're watching a paraplegic just try his hardest to go out there and block somebody, he could probably do it better than our offensive line. They changed Caleb Kim to Brahms, who I was waiting for a while now, but that didn't change anything at all. The entire interior is just completely pathetic. I guess the edges aren't that bad. Like I don't think Tega is awful. From what I hear, he has pretty bad footwork, pass blocking wise. But I mean that's every JB Grum's tackle. JB Grum's is awful at pass protection or teaching it. And Driscoll, I don't even know how he is because I don't even look. I mean, people blitz off the left edge like it's nothing. So usually taking gets sucked in to support whoever is coming off, coming inward, and they just blitz the edge constantly. And I never get a chance to look at the other side of the offensive line because usually Stem's already running out, getting CT domed up, and it's just pathetic. I don't know how the rush game did. There's no statistics being played. I'm not reading anything. I'm just looking straight at the camera this time. But I had to imagine the running game. I think last time I checked was like sub 60 yards. I believe that was before Stidham had scored, so it's probably around 60 yards, give or take. Which I guess the team that gave up 44 points, I think like 500 center yards in North Texas. You think that the floor would have been like 60 yards in the first two possessions of the game, but no. After the entire half, it was like a combined sub 200 yards, maybe a little bit more, give or take, but it was awful. Receivers didn't even get a chance. Whenever they were open, Stidham had like zero point 0.7 seconds to see them. And usually, if Stidham gets a little bit bothered, I don't think Stidham trusts the offensive line at this point. It's usually the beginning of the end for any offense. If they don't trust the offensive line by the fourth game of the season, usually you're pretty much condemned to a life of 8-4. Which I don't even go 8-4 because our schedule. There's a lot of awful teams between now and Georgia, but who knows? Um, yeah, when I touched on offensive line, I wish I could touch on them more. Running backs, I mean, what can they really do without an offensive line? I don't think I need to review them. Quarterback play, I think Sims is pretty much ready to go to the NFL. It's kind of like Josh Rosen in his latter part of UCLA season. He just pretty much just biding time to get out of there. I'm sure if you go back in time, he probably would have left in the first place because this offense play calling is now honestly worse than it was last year, which is one of the main reasons that he wanted to leave because the offensive play calling was awful. And, he probably knew that, hey, Carry is the only other person other than me that can work behind these conditions. But I mean, Stidham isn't even comparable to the talent that Carrion is. I think Stidham's like not good, at least not good in Auburn's awful offensive system. So I don't know if Stidham's really awful or it's just. I mean, if you put them in a quick shooting offense like the Oklahoma or RP Art Briles type of offense, then yeah, he'd probably be an incredible monster. But in this offense where you got to take 27, oh God, I'm legit having an aneurysm thinking about this game. You got to take half a decade to get the receivers going downfield because every play is either a sluggo, a post, a fade, uh, a post again, or a streak. Then you got to take 87 years to get a play going, which I mean, I guess that's cool when it worked 5 years ago, but now it's 2018 and we're still doing it with a guy who can't run, offensive line can't block. So if you want to hear my thoughts about the offensive play calling, well, there it is. It's awful, outdated, antiquated, and honestly should be removed from my site every time I watch the Auburn game. We play another Patsy next week in Southern Miss. I won't be surprised they ran the exact same plays they ran this game because they ran the exact same plays they ran this game as they did in the LSU game. I think they'd run something different, but hey, I guess that doesn't exist in the Auburn playbook. Different doesn't work. I remember like the whole first quarter. I think we had like -1 passing yards because all we did was run screens. I only completed one downfield pass, and I'm not exactly sure if we completed one in the second quarter. I know we had more passing yards because Anthony Schwartz carried the entire offense, but I don't think we actually had a non-screen pass in the first half. If we did, correct me. I'm sure if you watched the first half of this game, you probably aren't still like sane. So you probably didn't get the chance to correct me. You're probably not watching this. You're probably watching some other football team that actually plays a modicum of offense and not Auburn at this point, I imagine. Maybe you're watching Tennessee who did better offensively against Florida while getting butt blasted than we are doing currently against a sub MAC team. But anyway, special teams, Anders Carlson isn't very good. At least hasn't proved he's very good yet. Not even comparable to Daniel in any way. The blocks came in heavy, or at least the pressure of a block came in heavy. We had one pass block, one should have been another pass block, punt block. Defense, it started out kind of sluggish. The secondary isn't going to be great at any point soon. They're just not very well taught. I don't know who's a CB coach, but he isn't teaching them rudimentary fundamentals. And I can't really blame him too much for this because the pass rush is non-existent. They have to bring a 7, 8, even against terrible teams like Arkansas to get any pass rush. Probably because everybody is like 280 pounds plus. I guess we didn't recruit any edge rushers. Maybe we did, and Georgia took them because Georgia probably paid them more than we did. I wish we could pay players. Apparently, we're never will. But that's another argument in and of itself. Um, they got. I know when I was just leaving out, or after I just left the stadium, Javaris Davis got in the pick. It was running the back, called a block in the back because the refs hate us. The refs would. I think we're like a joke to the SEC at this point. Some of the worst refereeing I've ever seen for this Auburn team has been the past three FBS games. Washington game wasn't too bad. It's kind of even both ways, but it's some ticky tack calls called that I think they probably shouldn't have. But again, I think that was against was that Pac-12 refs? No, it wasn't Pac-12 refs. I don't know. I think it's ACC refs maybe ACC Big Ten refs. LSU game was horrendous, obviously biased, uh, just tremendously terrible. And this game wasn't that much better. I mean, Auburn's just not allowed to see if the refs have a play in it, and it's just getting pathetic at this point. I would say it'd get better, but I know Auburn will just sit on their hands and not complain at all because that's what Auburn does. Yeah, that would be being a poor sport, and being a poor sport is in the Auburn lexicon. That's not being an Auburn man. I know Gus was saying that because Gus has a micro penis, and he literally doesn't care about making his team better. Jesus Christ, I hate Gus so much, man. He's just an awful, awful head coach in every way. And we're gonna have him for the next 6 years, and it's gonna be a miserable, miserable 6 years unless they start just being so ungodly talented that it just won't matter how incompetent Gus is at his job. But we won't because we're Auburn and we don't know how to recruit without paying players, at least not at the level we need to be. And apparently, we're just not going to pay players. I would love to. I want to win. I want to see a team win games. I'm tired of going to games, 90 plus degrees, uh, people shouting in my ear, for just positive offensive play for like 3 yards positive, and it's just demoralizing. Instead of Auburn football right now, it's just demoralizing. And if you ask me how those games are going to go, or how I thought it should go if we were to be a better team, I thought we had to beat them by like at least 60, honestly. Because Arkansas, this might be the worst Arkansas team I've seen in my lifetime. And there's been some plenty Arkansas teams that have just been putrid. But this one right here takes a hair cake, and we are marginally better than this team, at least as far as offense versus defense goes. Their offense is bad, but our offense isn't much better. Just a couple more broken plays because more talent, of course. But I mean, what can you say about that? What does that tell you? How are we going to look when we get out talented? I don't want to see that, but I believe that Sis guy will be calling pretty soon, and we'll see come November. Have a good night, War Eagle.